What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to continue our A to Z of my worldwide collection, and we're now up to the letter F. So we're going to look at all the coins I've got from countries beginning with the letter F. I've only got 4 countries, and one of them is actually a territory, so not a massive amount, but still plenty to have a look at. Let's get right into it, and we're going to kick it off with Fiji, which is one of my favourites to pick up when I see them, to be honest. We've got a 1963 penny here, obviously a hole in it. We like anything a bit different on the channel, so anytime I see something like this, I'll pick it up. Shame there's a bit of green on the this side here. So we've got the 1963, which has got a mintage of 432,000, which is pretty low. And then we've got a 1967 as well, which has got a mintage of just over 700,000. Again, not in the best condition, but not bad at all. And then to go with those, we've got 3 old sixpence. Unfortunately, they're not silver, but I do love the design on this, and that's why I've got 3 different dates of it already. I would love to pick up more. And this is a sea turtle. The 1953 has a mintage of 800,000. We've got a 61, which has the lowest mintage of the ones I've got, with just 400,000. Again, shame there's a bit of green on that one there. So we'll look to improve that if we ever see a better one. And then 1965, again, a mintage of 800,000. And then we move on to the decimal stuff, the dollars. We've got 2 cents here. We picked this up on an episode of Coin Store Haul, so if you do watch all the videos, you probably would have seen this before. It would have come out of the junk bin there, 3 for £1. And that's a 1986. And we see like a fan there made out of a palm leaf. 1.7 million of those. It's pretty low for such a low denomination. And then we've got a few of the 5 cents. These are a lot more common. 1992, 7 million. Then we've got 2000, 3 million. And then the more modern 2009. Well, I couldn't actually find a mintage on. Then we move on to the 10 cents. Oh, sorry, just quickly. Yeah, that is a drum there. The Fijian drum. Called a lally, apparently. Doesn't really look like a drum, does it? So that's quite interesting. And then the 10 cent on it has a throwing club, which is pretty cool. Obviously a hunting weapon. I believe it's called the Ula Tava Tava. And we've got the 1998, 2 million. And then we've got a 2009 one as well, which they did make it smaller at one point. And again, the more modern stuff, harder to find mintages on. But nice coins to have, especially with the 2 size varieties, I think. Then we've got one of the 20 cents as well. And this is actually called a tabua on here. And believe it or not, it's actually a polished sperm whale tooth. It's a traditional gift in Fiji. 2010 there. And exportation of them is very highly restricted, I was reading when I was doing a bit of research on them. And then we've got 1 50 cents. Did post this one up on Instagram. If you follow me on there, you would have seen this one posted up earlier today. Traditional boat there. And this is a 1982. And that's a fairly low mintage of just 1 million. And again, it's a funny shape, isn't it? And it's similar to the Australian ones as well, are very similar, not quite the same. And then we've got a $1 as well. This is in a little case here, but these did circulate as well, and only 70,000 of them were minted in 1969. We can have a bit of a closer look at it here. Very nice indeed. course, the Fijian coat of arms there. And I'm going to guess that person on the right has probably got an ula tava tava in their hand. I might be wrong there. One on the left's definitely got a spear of some sort. A lovely coin, and I'm again pretty sure that came from the coin stool. That's Fiji done. 14 coins in total. Quite a nice little collection of Fiji coins, I think. Next we move on to Finland, and this is a very recent addition and came out of that pre-decimal tub. And it's a 1 penny. You see the two hands grasping each other on either side of the denomination there. And then, of course, the telltale sign that it is Finnish is Suomen. They always say that. Presumably that means Finland in Finnish. Should have looked that up. This is a 1965 one. Tons of these minted though, 43 million. But this is a Saint Hannes cross, the looped interwoven cross there, which is quite a heavily used symbol in that region of the world. I think these days it's mostly used to denote a place of historical interest, but you might recognise that as a key on a certain keyboard as well, if you have a certain device. But yeah, that's the 1 penny. Then we have a 50 penny. And there we actually see some hair cap moss, which is a bit of a funny thing to see on a coin, some moss, but it does flower and it is quite nice. I saw a few pictures of it. And then on the other side here, we have this hench old brown bear. He's a big boy. And this is a 1990 50 penny and 70 million minted of these. Quite numerous, but still a nice one to have. We love an animal, don't we, guys? And then we've got a 1 marker. I think that's just surrounded by trees there, the denomination. Stylised trees. Unfortunately, a bit of a mark on the other side of this one. There we see the Finnish coat of arms at the top, which we will see again in a second when we get onto the Euros. That's all of the pre-Euro stuff I've got from Finland, just the 3 coins, but we've got another 5 coins from there. They're all Euros, so nothing too exciting, we'll just rattle through them. Mintages are through the roof on these generally, over 200 million of this 5 cent. And we've got 2 20 cent, which again have got the Finnish coat of arms, which is cool, don't get me wrong. Both again over 100 million minted of each. And then we don't have any of the other denominations, but we do have a couple of the 2 euros, which is quite a nice design. And the mintages on these are a little bit lower, especially considering the size of the Eurozone. And the 2009 has a mintage of 6.2 million, and the 2011 has a mintage of 5.2 million. So certainly ones to keep hold of for the future. Oh, I didn't look this up. Oh, it's not in the focus, is it, on that? Edge inscription says Finland. And is that Suomi? Suomi, which presumably is a variation of the Suomen. Sounds like I'm saying Suomen, Ninja Turtles. That's it for Finland. Now, usually we go in alphabetical order, but we're going to do French Polynesia before we do France. And French Polynesia is, of course, overseas French territory in the South Pacific. Tahiti is probably the island you're most likely to have heard of. The most populated island in French Polynesia. And this one, bizarrely, is aluminium. And for a large coin like that, you do not see that very often. It's very, very light. But a lovely design, especially when the light catches it just right. Beach scene there. Now on the other side, we have a seated Marianne with the Phrygian cap on, and a cornucopia in her right hand and a torch in the left. And we will see all of these symbolic items again as we rattle through the French coins we've got in a minute. There we go, that's first one from French Polynesia, 5 francs. Then we've got a couple more, but they're more modern ones. And this is a 1995 10 francs. Tribal mask there, pretty cool design. And again on the other side we see Marianne with the Phrygian cap on, but just the bust this time. And 1995, 540,000 miniature those, so pretty low one. And then to finish us off with French Polynesia, we've got another stunning design of a beach scene here. I believe it's actually the harbour on Moorea Island, which is one of the other larger islands just off the west of Tahiti. This is a 50 francs from 1985. It's a pretty good condition for a coin as old as me. And 500,000 miniature this. And again, these would have come from the coin store. I do get some crackers from down there, don't I? But that's French Polynesia done. And now we move on to France. And we've got a whopping 130 coins from France. I'm sure we're not quite rivaling Christopher Collects' French date run collection yet, but we're certainly getting there. So let's get into it. We'll do the older bits first. This is the oldest one I've got at the moment. Unfortunately, I haven't got any silver at all in this episode, so we're going to have to look to change that, especially not having a French piece of silver with having so many French coins. But this is a 1926 10 centimes. Again, a hole in it. It's interesting. And on the other side here, again, we see the cap at the top there. Quite a high miniature on this of nearly 26 million. But that gets us rolling with France. And then we've got a couple of aluminium coins. 1 francs. This is a 1942 and a 1944. Of course, wartime. 152 million of the 42, 73 million of the 44. On the other side here we see a double-headed axe and some ears of wheat. Quite a nice design. Aluminium, as I said. And they changed the design slightly as they got to the late 40s. And we've got a 47 and a 50 here. Again, quite high miniatures. We see some cornucopia on that side. And presumably that's Marianne again, is it? I'm not sure on that totally, but a reefed head of some figure, probably is. Then we move on to 5 francs, which is again quite a big aluminium coin. Obviously post-war, other metals were in more demand for other things, so they tended to use aluminium where they could, I guess. And again, we see Marianne there. And Marianne is the personification of France, kind of like our Britannia in a way. Hasn't been around for as long though, and it's only been around since the end of the 18th century and during the end of the French Revolution she was brought in. But a nice coin, 1947. Light as anything for a big coin. And we move on to a couple of copper aluminium bits. And these are 10 francs here. And we see the rooster, which of course now is, to this day, is still a symbol of France and appears on a French football shirt, for example. We've got a 51 and a 52. Again, miniatures through the roof on these. This one on the left is actually a bit damaged there. But again, we see Marianne, the personification of France. And then we've got 1 francs, 1950. And then we move on, which is again very similar. We move on to the new franc from 1960 onwards. And the first one of these we've got is a tiny little denomination of 1 centime. We've just got the one of these from 1964. This is made from stainless steel. Never seen one of these before. Only ever seen that one of them. They're high mintage though, 22 million. And then we move on to 5, 10, 20 and 50 centimes, which are all very, very similar in design. So let's grab one of each, shall we? That's not the best example, is it? So there's the 5 and the 10. And the 20. And the 50. We've only got the 150. I think the 50 only exists in 3 different dates, and we've got one of them, the 1963. Then they changed it to a half franc from then onwards. And the 5 centimes, we've got 7 different dates from 78 to 96. Turn these over. Again, we see Marianne there with the Phrygian cap on. 10 centimes, we've got 16 dates. 20 centimes, we've got 16 dates. And as I said, the 50 centimes, just the one date of those. So we're doing quite well on the date runs of all those ones. Ways to go to catch up with Mr. Collects, I think, but we're doing all right. We're doing all right. We're not at the stage where we don't want to see the French coins of these denominations like he is, so not bad at all. And then again, we move into some designs which are all pretty similar. You may recognise this one, and it's the Soa by Oscar Roti, national emblem of the French Republic. They're the half francs. Let's have a closer look at a higher denomination. They're a bit bigger. We've got 14 dates of that one between 65 and 97. 10 dates of the 1 franc. Let's have a closer look at this. And there we see the Soa. You can just about make out Oscar Roti's signature there at the base. And on the other side, 1 franc. 1991 that one, but we've got 10 different dates between 1960 and 1999. And then we've got a commemorative 1 franc, which is the same size as those ones we were just looking at. This one's got Charles de Gaulle on it. And of course, leader in the French resistance, and established the 5th Republic of France. Here we see it's commemorating 30 years of the 5th Republic, formed in 1958, where essentially they split power between a prime minister and a president. Quite a nice design there, 1 franc with the border surrounding it. And Charles de Gaulle there, of course, also has an airport named after him, which maybe where that rings a bell from if you don't know who he is. And then again, we go back to the Soa on the 2 francs. This one has a nice, interesting border though. Again, I'm still not sure what you call this. I was meant to look that up, wasn't I? And there we see the Soa again. What have we got there? 5 different dates on that. This has got reeded edges, but quite large gaps. And then the 5 francs, which are quite hefty. Not as big as the old aluminium one that we had there. Still rather large. And we've got 5 dates of that between 70 and 78. The Soa again. A lot of their designs tend to have the running themes, don't they? But we certainly break that theme a little bit with the 10 franc, which I think is an awesome little coin. Shows the like construction, industrial scene there with cranes and all sorts going on. And then on this side we have quite a nice map of France. I believe that's Paris there, highlighted by all those lines going into that circle. Now the thing with these as well to mention, unlike our £2 coins, where having the edge inscription up a certain way doesn't matter, with these, if you have the inscription up correctly like this, which they all are, And then you look at it and you see one up that way. That coin is actually a little bit rarer than the rest because most of them come out this way up. But if you've got the reverse up, when the writing is the right way up, then they are slightly more scarce. So something to look out for. These are all pretty high mintages though, especially for these dates that we've got. 76, 77, 78 and 80. Some of the later ones are a bit more scarce. And then we've got this slightly different, interesting 10 francs from 1986. I think this was only minted the 1 year. Not sure if it was a trial to try and change it to something else. But they minted 88 million of them. And again we see France there. And liberty, equality, fraternity. Which is also the edge inscription on the other 10 franc, which I forgot to mention. Pretty cool. And what does that translate to again? Liberty, equality and brotherhood, I think it is. And then we've got another one which is the same size and shape of this one. And this is the Roland Garros one. He was a fighter pilot in World War I. 1988. He was actually shot down and died in 1918, but he was a pioneer and fighter pilot and aviator at the time. They did end up renaming naming the tennis stadium after him in Paris. Passed away in 1918, and Roland Garros was named what it is in 1923, and it's still called that obviously to this day. And then we've got the last of the pre-Euro stuff. 5 different dates of this bimetallic 10 franc. I'm doing okay on a date run of these, but still some to find. We've got 5 dates between 88 and 92. And on this one we actually see a different figure. And this is Genie de la Liberté, which translates to the spirit of freedom, which is actually a statue in France that you can go and see. It's quite interesting. And then we move on to the less interesting Euro coins. And we've got a few of these. I think we've got 3 ones, all different dates of course. 4 2s, and a load of 5s there. But they're all the same, and they all have this new version. Didn't pick any good ones out there, did I? New version of Marianne on them there. So we're doing alright with the start of a date run on the small denominations. We've got a few 10s, about 6, 5 or 6, and then 3 20s. And here we see the sower again on the 10s and 20s, who we saw earlier on quite a few of the denominations. Very, very similar, you see. Awesome. And then we've got the bimetallics to finish us off. 3 different dates on the €1, just the one date of the €2. And then we see a tree, and again encircling it, liberty, equality, fraternity, or fraternite, fraternity. And this is the tree symbolising life, continuity and growth. So that's our lot for France. Quite a few different bits and pieces. That's it for the video, in fact. That's the 4 countries done. Fiji, Finland, French Polynesia, and then France at the end there. So let me know your favourite. Anything I need to get that I haven't, let me know. What countries haven't I got that begin with F that I should pick up? But thanks for watching. Do leave me a comment, drop us a thumbs up, And if you're not subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing and come back and see what we've got next time. Episode G is going to be a real good one, definitely. So come and see that one for sure. Thanks a lot, everyone. See ya.